I think the number one thing I keep coming back to is just start. And then the second thing is just keep going.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a Take the Doughnut interview with Eric Bahn, who is the general partner and co-founder at Hustle Fund. Hello, Eric.
Hello, Melissa. Really excited for this conversation today.
Me too. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you. And before we get into any more serious questions, I'll start with this. What's your favorite donut?
Well, ever since I've had my little daughter, who I love the most, she really likes the pink sprinkled Homer Simpson-like donuts. So I'm a big fan of those. I do prefer, I think, more of like a cake donut as well. I like that kind of texture. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay, yeah, cake versus yeast. It's the big debate. It's the debate everybody has to weigh in on. And it's a cake donut for you and pink sprinkles for your little girl.
Mhm.
Awesome. I said just a little bit about you up front, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
Well, maybe I'll just distill it down to three things. So first and foremost, the son of Korean immigrants and born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Very proud of my Midwestern roots. I think the second thing too is there's a saying I once heard in church that I think about almost every day of my life, which is small hinges swing wide doors. And I'd say that the biggest small hinge moment of my life was my very first week of college, where I met my wife as well as my two co-founders at Hustle Fund. That was 24 years ago. So everything about my life has become better ever since, and meeting these incredible women and growing old with them. And then the last is I'm the luckiest guy in the world, not just because I have this wonderful family and live here in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area, but I also have a really cool job in investing and supporting early stage founders through Hustle Fund. So I've been doing this for about 7 years now, and this is my last job, and I'm very lucky to say that.
Oh, that's so exciting. So did you say that you met both of those people in one week, in the same week?
Yeah, my wife in the
Wow.
first day of college, and Elizabeth and she and my two co-founders later in that same week too.
Wow. Talk about monumental. That's a lot. And then a first week of college on top of it.
The great thing too, which is that I don't think any of those women were particularly impressed by me in the first week of college. We were all like 17, 8 years old, and I was definitely a far inferior version, I'd like to think, of the man that they helped me grow into. But they took a shot on me all the same, and I'm grateful.
Oh, that's so great to hear. Well, okay, so let me reset this for people who haven't heard a Take the Donut interview before. Why are we saying take the donut? For me, it's another way to say carpe diem. It's all goes back to this strange thing that happened to me in college where I left an actual donut on a table, but it became an object lesson for me of what it looks like to leave an opportunity behind. So now I want to take the donut, not leave it on the table. So this conversation is all about going after opportunity, seizing moments, and what does that actually look like day to day when we have to do it? So let me start with this. How are you with going after goals? What is that process like for you?
I'd say that when I was a younger person, I was trying to be much more of a planner. Like I want to accomplish this by this date, get into college, or have this kind of job, or earn this kind of salary, or whatever. But now that I'm in my 40s, it's interesting. My relationship with goals has changed quite a bit, in that I try not to set a lot of goals. I've kind of become more of like a surfer in some ways, of just like there's like this current of the universe that keeps pushing me forward. And actually, the best parts of my life have come from unplanned circumstances, or even circumstances I thought were kind of negative at the time, but ended up becoming so positive later. So today, there's very few goals that I try to set for myself in terms of timelines. And yeah, like I'd like to lose a couple pounds, or or maybe take this vacation at some point and check out that island or whatever. But like a lot of it is actually just embracing the current of the universe and just trying to keep my eyes wide open as possible when there's a neat opportunity that I can just jump through. So a little bit like the Take the Donut spirit there too, of just sometimes there are these wonderful, unexpected twists and turns in this walk of life. And I just want to keep my eyes really wide open to jump through that donut hole whenever whenever that presents itself, if that metaphor still works.
Sure, it absolutely does. Makes sense to me. Okay, well, knowing that you are more about going with the flow and sort of seizing the moments that come to you, when you set your eyes on something or when a really big opportunity comes your way, and maybe it's going to take a little while to get it done, or, the presentation happens, but then it'll be a long time before the whole thing comes to fruition. When you've got
Mhm.
something like that, what keeps you motivated in that process?
One of the lucky books that I had a chance of reading as a young adult was actually my very first self-help book that I ever read. It was Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This is considered like a classic book in like the self-help domain. And what I got from that book was it was a pretty great guide on teaching you how to establish your personal mission statement. So like literally writing down a statement of what you believe in and what you think your values are. So that was an exercise over 20 years ago, I want to say, in reading that book. And I've actually revisited my personal mission statement every month since. I sometimes make tiny modifications, like when I got married or had kids, or I had a period of like poor health as well. So like kind of adjust it here and there. But what I appreciate so much about this personal mission statement is I've figured out that this is a manifestation of the absolute ideal version of myself. And the neat thing about having this written down is whenever I feel stuck or I need to make a decision or there's a huge opportunity that presents itself that I want to dedicate myself towards, I'll read through my personal mission statement, pass that idea through that rubric. And if like the ideal version of myself is saying like this is a worthwhile thing for you to pursue, then my choice has been made at that point. So it's been a big unlock for me in my life is just having this defined, and it surely is the way that I think about making big decisions. So even like this thing like Hustle Fund, I'm entering my eighth year. So that's a long-term project. You have to set real goals. You have to grind pretty hard, like any other business that you get established. And but every year I feel really motivated because I just truly find so much purpose in this work as defined by the values that I set out for myself when I did this exercise so long ago.
This is awesome. And the fact that you check in with it on it that regularly, I feel like a lot of times I'll hear about people going back to, even organizations will go back to a mission statement once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're checking in with it on such a regular basis, I think really allows you to like make all of those micro decisions line up with where you want to
Yeah.
go.
And just like to hopefully not overemphasize this point, I'll tell you a quick side story. So a long time ago, I happened to watch on YouTube like this like White House like musical thing when Barack Obama was still president, and he and Michelle Obama invited this amazing soul singer. His name is William Bell. He's like an old dude now, but he's a great singer, and he's still producing music. And he sang this song that was relatively new at the time. It's called "The Three of Me," and the hook goes as follows: "Is last night I had a dream that there were three of me. There is the man I was, the man I am, and the man that I want to be." And I was really touched actually by that hook. Man I was, man I am, man that I want to be. And what I've realized is that this is exactly how I live my life. Is like I have my history, I have my presence right now, but I have the man that I want to be written down literally in this personal mission statement. And what I found is like if you start to close the gap between the person that you've defined in your mission statement and who you are today, the overall sense of that you feel in life is just calmness and peace. It's because it's just like I'm living my values, right? And whenever I've deviated, like taken a decision that's further away from that, I feel stress. So it's like it's a real feeling of calm that I feel so blessed to have in most of my life now.
It's so interesting. Well, so when you do go after something that you want, when you're trying to get closer to the man that you want to be, oftentimes when we're approaching new tasks or goals, obstacles come up, challenges come up. And I'm curious for you if there's a particular brand of challenge that just keeps coming up over and over again, no matter what it is you have going on. It's like your Achilles heel.
I think a lot of it is like fitness. So, I'm in my early 40s now, and I was able to get away with quite a bit in my 20s and 30s in terms of abusing my body. I got sick and formed some chronic illnesses as a result too. So it's not like I really truly got away from anything else. But now I'm starting to gain a lot more awareness of my body and want to future-proof it more with being able to stay really active with my kids and someday my grandkids too. But I would say that in terms of my hierarchy of priorities, things like fitness have never felt terribly important to me. And I think largely it's the case that there's a longer feedback loop when you exercise a lot or diet a lot. Like it's not like, you see the results tomorrow or it's like a video game where you like won the game or lost the game and try something else. And that's something I'm kind of struggling with a lot. So yeah, it's still a work in progress as to just redefining that relationship for why I should prioritize health more. And arguably, I'm at the point of my life too where that could be the most important thing to prioritize, more so than even the job or possibly even family. It's like if I don't take care of myself first, then like how can I take care of anyone else? Intellectually, I get that. I think emotionally, though, I haven't really connected with that yet.
I hear you. Yeah. A lot of us struggle with this, especially for somebody who has a brand called Take the Doughnut. Not easy.
I do know
Um,
that.
so, if you think back on your life so far, personal, professional, what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken?
Oh, easily it's asking out my wife. Right. So I met her the first day of college, but we were buddies and she had another boyfriend at the time. So I had to wait like 2, 3 years for her to wrap that up. And then as soon as I heard that she broke up with her boyfriend and she was like kind of open, I instantly AOL instant messaged her because that's what we did back in the early 2000s. That was our version of direct messages. And I invited her to junior pub night, and then the rest is history. But I would say that that was the strongest hinge that I've ever felt in my life is like getting with her. And the reason why I love her so much and why I loved her back then was she embodied all of the values that I admired most that I wanted to have someday myself. Like I just like truly looked up to her. Just like the way her sense of humor, the way that she approaches life, her resilience. And that's something that I wanted for myself selfishly too. So why not get together with the person that you admire most? And the wonderful thing about life is like it's almost like you start as like two trees kind of separately near each other, and then you kind of grow into a single tree. Right. So like over time, it feels like we've become the same person. Hopefully, there's some good traits that I imparted to her too. I have a little bit dirtier sense of humor than she does, and now she definitely has a very dirty sense of humor. So I'm not sure if it's very positive, but we become one, and like it's a really neat family unit to have now too, with like the other little trees, the saplings that we're raising too.
Oh, this is so great. Oh, I love this story. Okay, well, what a productive first week of college you had.
It was
Not
great.
everybody does,
I
and
just quit
this
then. I didn't need the rest.
like that was everything you needed to get set up for life that first week. Well, is there a donut that you're trying to take right now? Anything in progress for you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Um, I think the donut I'm trying to take is I'm always reassessing how I want to balance all of my life's experiences. I would say that I very much indexed on things like work, entrepreneurship in my early days as a founder in my 20s and my early 30s. And that was a lot of fun. But now I got these little kids who are growing very quickly. And also we have this kind of rare moment right now where we're all together in the same home and it's very harmonious. And my work sometimes takes me away quite a bit. Like this month, for example, I traveled for 3 months. That was a lot. But I felt necessary for the work, but it's something that created a lot of guilt. And things that I want to do, like coach my son's soccer team, right? Or be involved as maybe like a dance dad for my daughter, or maybe even like more reinvestment into my relationship with my wife through like solo trips if I like can get that going together with her. So those are the things that I'm kind of thinking about, which is like, can I give myself permission to let go on some of the hours I put into the work, find ways of getting more leverage for the work that I choose to work, and then build more time with family. And it is a deconditioning that I'm not used to. So I do struggle with that, but I do see this donuts right now, which is like, man, if I know it would mean a lot if I became like my Cub Scout den leader for my son, or his soccer coach, or like the dance dad for my daughter, or a couple more like cool trips with my wife. That's just us, like how much I would treasure that too, and how much they would treasure that as well. But I've yet to give myself full permission to do so.
It's interesting because sometimes when I interview people who are, or talk to people who are like have been very successful professionally, um, and I say, what's the next donut you want to take? If they feel like they're trying to sort of slow down professionally, they feel like there's no donuts, like that
Mm,
all the donuts were professional donuts. And I love that you are recognizing that there are many categories of donuts. There are professional ones, there are personal ones, family ones, health ones. Like there are so many different ones out there. So, by sort of decelerating in the workspace,
yeah.
you can advance another category of donut, take a different type of donut than you perhaps did in the past. I like that you recognize that because a lot of people like keep it into a category in terms of what they're focused on,
Sure.
whatever that
Yeah.
category is.
I went to college with this really remarkable guy. He's kind of a well-known influencer name. His name is Ramit Sethi. He wrote "I Will Teach You to Be Rich," and like he's kind of like a best-selling author, and also like has like a Netflix show and all that stuff about like wealth creation or something like that. There's something he did mention to me though, pretty early on when I got to know him. Again, we're the same year in college. Is he mentioned this thing about like hidden scripts, which I thought was like a really interesting naming. He's like, when you live in society, society tries to write these scripts for you of like, this is what success looks like. Now that you're rich, you should get a Porsche or like a bigger house, or like, you should, work like 70 hours a week if you're like a business owner, and then, have all that success and whatever. And the beautiful thing about age and maybe feeling a little more self-love and appreciation for what I value is you now can start to question those scripts, right? Is that like a real script that I care about, or is it one being told to me? And the hard thing is kind of unbundling like societal scripts to say like this is what I truly want. And I think that's something that is almost like a lifelong struggle, right? Is like what do I actually believe in? Like truly, like something that's not influenced from the outside. What do I actually believe in? The thing that I've been really questioning lately, Melissa, is actually consumerism and consumption, right? Like there's we live in a pretty small townhome, and I've often been asked like, why don't you just buy a bigger house, right? Because I sometimes complain about the space, but then like I sort of think about this and like I don't think our family needs it, or I kind of care about the climate, and I feel like if we bought like a big house, we'd just be wasting it and expending a lot of energy, and it wouldn't really work. Or even like a funnier one is oftentimes when I roll up uh in my minivan to like a meeting, a bunch of VCs will be like, "What's going on here? Like, why are you driving a minivan when they have like their wonderful cars, right?" And I'm just like, I kind of love this thing, right? Like, who cares, right? Or even they'll say like how could you be a man if you're driving a minivan? It's like a soccer mom car. I'm like, is it though? Like, but the fact that I have a minivan means I helped create kids. Isn't that pretty manly? So like, it's all those kinds of things that take a lot of processing to unbundle, and it's not easy to find the space to do that. I'll name that. Yeah.
I love that you said that here. Who knows who relates to that and never was able to like see that reflected in somebody else's words or thoughts. So this is so good. For those people who may be listening to this who have a donut of their own they want to take, and maybe it's something that it's still an idea. They haven't started yet, or maybe they have started and they're looking for what the next step is going to be, or they're trying to get the motivation to keep
Hmm.
going. Let's sprinkle some encouragement. And what would you say to those people?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of donuts I've had the opportunity to jump through that hole. Kind of gonna keep using this metaphor now, Melissa. Is so I've started like five companies at this point. Four worked out, one didn't. Um, had some pretty big moments too, just like in taking a risk, meeting my wife and so forth. And I think the number one thing I keep coming back to is just start. And then the second thing is just keep going. So like let's like sort of break this up. Like one is like it's easy to overthink to say like I'm not qualified. I don't belong here. I shouldn't do this. Those sabotaging voices are very loud. I think it's just part of human nature and our fight or flight response of just like trying to talk yourself out of something. So just getting going and trying to just move the ball a little bit further and further each day is really important. So if you're just getting started, maybe just outline like what your final vision is going to look like and then like try to work backwards and just like writing out even like a brief set of bullet points of like here's like what day one looks like for me. Like I'll buy a domain or something, or I will like sign up for a Shopify account so I can like set up my e-commerce store. And it's okay if it looks pretty ugly in the beginning, right? So much of this is just like repetition and learning through the work. And I found the best founders I've worked with, as well as those that my experiences too, is just like getting started was the hardest part. And that already separates you from like 90% of people who can never get past like the should I start this or not phase. And then on the keep going front, there's always a time to shut down a business, and I've done it before myself, and it sucks. But like, I actually think that so much of the success I've had in previous companies I've run only merely happened is that I just outlasted everyone else. There's other competitors, they might have been better funded, they might even had better marketing, but I just kept on going. I was like a little cockroach that couldn't be killed. And I just, kept it lean and I just kept going. And you can just sort of win by outlasting people. Right. And I think this is true in a lot of things. Now you still have to have the passion there and the belief. And if you lose that kind of stuff, then maybe it's not the right way to spend your time. But if you're excited about the work and you feel purpose in the mission, and you just keep going and you just don't stop, then oftentimes like you could be the last person standing, and that might be the way that you win. So I never view that there's like a shortcut to any kind of success here. It's just like outlast the competition. So just start and don't stop.
Perfectly said. That's how we do it. So, for those who want to follow you on your journey, want to see what you are up to, where can they find you? What links should I put in the description?
Yeah, if you want to learn about the work that we're doing at Hustle Fund, if you're an early founder, you can check us out at hustlefund.vc, Victor Charlie. That's a great way to get to know our fund. You can follow me, Eric Bahn, on Twitter or Blue Sky. I actually am pretty open book there too. I kind of tweet almost 90% about personal stuff, and then 10% about the VC and startup stuff. So and there's a lot of cringy dad jokes in those too. But I'm really active on those platforms these days.
Perfect. Well, everybody, be sure to check out those resources. And if you liked listening to this interview, be sure to like and subscribe because we have so many more inspirational interviews still to come. But in the meantime, thank you so much, Eric, for taking some time, for talking with me, for talking with all of us about taking the donut and what that looks like for you.
Really appreciate it, Melissa. It was a fun conversation. Thanks for giving me the space.
Thank you for being here. And everybody who's listening, you know what to do. Go out there, get inspiration, get donuts. Bye.